Capital One Arena, the site for tonight's matchup against the Raptors. For the second time in 3 days, the Wizards trying to get a bit of a mini-series sweep versus Toronto, knowing that both teams standing neck and neck in the Eastern Conference standing. Toronto at 9, Wizards at 10. But unfortunately, turnovers seem to be too costly for Washington tonight. 24 of them to be exact, giving Toronto 34 points to the final score, 116 to 109. Wes Hall here, joined by Jason Smith. We'll be joined by Chris, Drew, and Megan in a moment. Got a jam-packed post-game live show. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. Sticks, tied up at the half, 53-all, but we knew that this was an 8-quarter endeavor, not just 4, because we've seen them twice, well now, twice in 3 days. What do you see?
Biggest thing, you said it, turnovers. 24 turnovers for 34 points. Big time on the Toronto Raptors of getting up, being aggressive and pressuring. Now, not every foul is going to get called, but if you have a sense of defensive style to play like that for 48 minutes, you're going to win out. You're going to come out on the upper end of this game. I think Toronto Raptors did a great job of pressuring and really denying a lot of passes, getting in passing lanes, and making it difficult for the Wizards to run their offense. I thought there was a lot of isolation basketball just because of that pressure from the Raptors. But overall, the Wizards, they just did not have it. You saw the first game. They had a great success shooting from range. They had good shooting success today, but that pressure from the Raptors was just too much.
You could see that the Wizards came out with a pretty decent first quarter. They gave you 30 points. They won that. Toronto took the second and third quarter, and then Washington took the fourth quarter, but then it went to overtime, and that's when we saw the scoring slow down for Washington and expand for Toronto. What was it that you were seeing down the stretch that just prevented Washington from really being able to take advantage of that overtime moment?
I thought it was the ball movement, a little bit too much isolation play. I thought Bradley Beal was trying to do a little bit too much ISO. Kuzma was going for ISO, but I think overall those turnovers just killed them. They had a great fourth quarter to tie the game to get to overtime, but overall the Wizards, they could not get the win just for the sheer fact of too many turnovers. They couldn't play through the physical play of the Raptors. They weren't necessarily begging for calls to get to the free throw line, but it was just a very physical, aggressive game. At home, you got to endure that physical play and play through the contact. I think the Wizards kind of folded, and that turnover really hurt them in the end.
Indeed, another stat that we have to pay attention to is fast break points. Washington had 4 of them. Toronto had 19 points in fast break moment. I want to bring in Chris and Drew and get their thoughts on everything as well. Guys, good call tonight. Simple question, looking at the fact that you had Brad with the double-double, KP with the double-double, those are great individual performances, but it's all about the team win tonight, something that they fell short on, Drew.
Yes, they did, and it starts with 3 categories, and I'm going to do this in an ascending order. I'm going to go 24 turnovers, 25 points by Fred VanVleet, and 26 by Gary Trent Jr. Wow. So I think that's a recipe for disaster, CM.
It's very simple for me. The Wizards fought to get this to overtime where they outscored them 26-19. But in that overtime, that offense, bag it. You got to have ball movement. You got to move around. That is a very physical, switchable defensive team in the Toronto Raptors that we've talked about the last 2 games. And I think the Wizards played right into their hand, having Bradley Beal at the top of the key and trying to either penetrate on Fred VanVleet or getting switched. Anunoby was extremely physical tonight, and there just wasn't any ball movement. Drew said it, and it is as obvious as me looking at you guys in the screen right here. Porzingis needed to get the ball on the low block. He's taller than everybody out there. If you could have got some offense for him down on the block, I think we might be talking about a different result tonight.
Drew, not to overstep my bounds or step over my skis here, but I don't want to overcoach this, but I'm looking at what you're saying. KP down on the block, you're obviously going to get a bunch of mismatches back there. But DeLon Wright's performance tonight at point guard tonight, why not have him be the primary ball handler and let Kuz and Brad step on the perimeter and be an option to balance out the floor on that, Drew?
Well, they had something going. They were trying to force the switch. They wanted OG Anunoby not guarding Bradley Beal by any means necessary. How do you do that? Well, have Kyle Kuzma go and set a pick or have DeLon go and set a pick, and that's going to force guys like Fred VanVleet to guard Bradley Beal in isolation situations. But what was happening was, even if Brad had ISO, he wasn't settling for outside jump shots. He was trying to get to the paint, which is the right thing to do. But when he got there, he was met with a sea of Toronto Raptors jerseys and would never got that kick-out pass. The kick-out pass is what was beating this team offensively tonight. When you look at the three-point percentage, you shot 60% from 3, 14 for 24 from 3, 50% from the field, and you turn the ball over 24 times. I mean, if you cut those turnovers in half, even I say 25%. Cut 25% of those. You're giving yourself a chance to win that game in regulation.
By the way, second most turnovers they've had in a game. Second most points off of turnovers in a game this season. And, there's actually a set that they were running, which was really beneficial. When you get Beal and Porzingis on the same side, there was one play you guys remember where Toronto literally blitzed. I think it was Beal, and then Porzingis went straight to the cup and dunked with no resistance. So they had the offense. Again, this is one of those games where you look at the stats and you go offensively, how did they lose this game? Well, 24 turnovers, 34 points off of those, and then just the janky offense in overtime. I mean, you just fed right into Toronto's defense.
They force you to play like that offensively.
You know, it's interesting, too, guys, to your point. I'm sitting here looking at the shot chart, and I see Fred VanVleet literally knock down 2 corner threes from the exact same spot on the court. Jason, I ask you, how do you get – I understand getting caught in a trap once. How do you get caught in a trap twice in the exact same spot?
It's the ball movement. The Raptors had the ball movement. The Wizards did not have the ball movement. You go out there and you're moving that ball side to side, and it looked like they had wide open lanes to kind of pass into the interior. You collapse that defense of the Wizards, and you're passing out to VanVleet in the corner. He was feeling comfortable out there. If he's trying to deal with a contest, that's a difficult shot, but you've got a wide open shot in the corner, which you have probably the best percentage out there for him. He's going out there comfortably knocking it down. He didn't have a great start to the game, but he finished the game off very, very well. And to go to the point with the Wizards on the offensive end, Bradley Beal going against Anunoby is not something that you want. He's a very good defender. So how did they counteract that? They got the isolations with VanVleet. However, this time around in the second go-around against the Raptors, VanVleet got help from his teammates because they gave him help. He wasn't just on an island going isolation basketball, playing defense, because that hurt the Raptors in the first game. That's the game of adjustments, these mini playoff series. Nick Nurse, he did a great job of making the adjustment on the defensive end to give help to VanVleet. I think the Wizards need to learn from this and move on. If they want to make sure that they get into the play-in or playoff atmosphere, you got to make those small, minute adjustments.
Jason, to your point, looking forward, Chris and Drew, we said this is the second time seeing Toronto in 3 days. Well, guess what? It's night one of a back-to-back. We got to deal with Milwaukee tomorrow. Yeah, Drew, I saw that. So you already know what I'm about to ask you. How do we switch gears and get ready for tomorrow?
Hey, listen, this is how you got to approach this. This is the mindset. It doesn't matter if it's a back-to-back, 4 and 5 nights. It's still Milwaukee. No matter what day you play them, with rest, without rest, it's still the Bucks, and you got to bring your A game. And who knows? I mean, you might get an early Christmas gift. They might sit somebody. Giannis, I don't know. You know, it's been some times where Drew Holiday was not available, Chris Middleton, I don't know his situation. So maybe you get an early Christmas gift and that can help you out. But
they play tonight in prime time, so their 16-game winning streak is on the line. I'm really curious to see how Mike Budenholzer actually does deploy his players tomorrow, because obviously Washington with the 5 p.m. start, the game is at 7:30 tomorrow. But the fact that Milwaukee has to play tonight, get on a plane and come to D.C., I'm really interested to see who plays. You remember when the Wizards played Milwaukee up there January 1st and the 3rd, Giannis didn't play January 1st. January 3rd, he had 55.
Yeah. Why are we bringing up those up? Yeah, that didn't happen. What are we talking about? No, it's interesting to your point, Chris, that tip-off, 8:30 tonight for Milwaukee. So, yes, it's definitely going to be a schedule adjustment for both of them. Thank you guys both for the great breakdown.
Hopefully that game goes into like triple overtime.
You and me both.
All night.
You and me both.
Hey, Sticks, if you ain't got nothing going on, I'm gonna shoot you a text, man. Come meet us out for your birthday, man. We got something for you.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
All right.
Yeah, buddy. Just make sure you're back here for the pregame.
I got to be responsible, right?
Yeah, I'm saying we got a game tomorrow, bro.
Christy, we got it. We're going to take care of him, Christy. We got it.
For sure. Chris and Drew, we appreciate you as always. Thanks, guys. Sticks, let's keep the conversation going about tonight, because, again, we know how valuable every game is from here on out. That second half, third quarter to be exact, you and I are watching the game, and the defensive intensity in the first half was like, ooh, Toronto's serious. But that third quarter, they didn't let up. They were like, oh, we like what we're doing, and they just kept applying pressure.
Well, that's the thing. You have great success in the first half. Now, granted, it was still a tie game.
Yeah.
You apply more pressure in that third quarter, and they did a great job of not letting up. You have great success, not last game, but going into that first half of this game, they continued to apply it. What did they do? They applied pressure. No easy space for Porzingis, no space for Bradley Beal, and make it difficult for him. Pressure them while they're dribbling. pressuring while they're holding the ball at the top of the key. You saw last game, Daniel Gafford, he utilized taking a couple dribbles, getting to the basket. This go around didn't happen. That's the Raptors making the adjustment. Don't allow easy dribble penetration or easy baskets, or even have just that shred of space to allow Bradley Beal get a shot off. I think that the Raptors executed their game plan to a T, and I think the Wizards can learn from this game. You had no business winning this game, but you never gave up. In the fourth quarter, you got back into it, you tied it up, you gave yourself a chance to go out there in overtime, but the Raptors just pulled away.
No, that's what they did. It's a tight matchup tonight, but again, we will see them later on in the month of March, so all's not lost. But tonight, this game was lost, and we got to get ready for Milwaukee. But before we do that, I want to bring in Megan McPeak, still down in Capital One Arena for us tonight. Megan, we've all kind of gone back and forth, especially about the turnovers for tonight. But what say you about a difference maker for the Wizards tonight, and hopefully that could be a difference maker for tomorrow against Milwaukee?
2 words, DeLon Wright. That's it. That's all I got for you. DeLon Wright.
I'll take it.
DeLon Wright. That's my difference maker. What he was able to do and the way he deployed himself on both ends of the floor, he did, as Sticks was saying, like, this was a winnable game. As he was saying, you shouldn't have lost it, but you did. And you look at what he was able to do. There was stretches in the fourth quarter and then in overtime where he tried to keep them in it. He tried to give them momentum and give them a chance. So for me, the difference maker tonight is DeLon Wright. And he can be a difference maker tomorrow against Milwaukee, in my opinion, with the way that he uses his size and athleticism to disrupt the guards. And if he can do the same thing against Milwaukee, I think that they could have success. But for me, it's DeLon Wright. In my opinion, he was the player of the game, even in a loss.
Can I add 2 more words to you there? I want to say Corey Kispert, because, yeah, DeLon had the hot hand, so did Corey. Corey knocked down 1-3 early. But in the second half, my man was like, all right, if I see it, again, another birthday boy, so shout out to you, Corey.
Yep.
Feeling it from deep tonight, is that something that we can expect from him tomorrow night, knowing how valuable tomorrow's game is going to be?
I mean, when we were talking to him yesterday, or not yesterday, I keep thinking yesterday was Thursday. When we were talking to him Thursday, and I had asked him about the 3-point shooting, because he has had ups and downs this season with his shooting, and he's a shoot, and he stays ready, and he attributes a lot of that to his ability to stay healthy. Obviously, he didn't start the season with that leg injury, but since he has returned, he has been available and has been healthy, and it's allowed him to continue to put in the work. So I think if he continues to shoot with confidence, which he has been, I think we could see him have another hot game, and they're going to need his 3-point shooting tomorrow if Milwaukee is going to decide that they're going to try and be at as full strength as possible coming off of their own back-to-back as well.
Guys, I want both of you guys to respond to this, and Sticks, I'll come to you first. I'm looking at a night where the Wizards were 51% from the field, 58% from behind the arc, 86% from the charity stripe, and yet still lost the game. I know it's turnovers.
I was about to say, you're giving me my ammo right now.
I'm not going to give you turnovers. I need you to find another thing that they have to fix for tomorrow, because turnovers easy and obvious. So go ahead.
Okay, the point that got them the turnovers was the pressure from the defense. Have to play through it, have to play through contact. And if it's going to be a lot of pressure, move that ball. Get open. Make sure that your crisp passes. Don't be lackadaisical with the ball. And especially with Milwaukee coming into town, they played yesterday, but they're on a 16-game winning streak, possibly a 17-game winning streak after tonight. I think the Wizards have to regroup, regather. They had a great offensive game, especially at home against the Toronto Raptors team. They're fighting for the play-in positioning right now with that team. You have a very, very difficult task tomorrow against Milwaukee. You don't know who's going to be playing out there. Take care of yourself. Make sure you get into the treatment room. Get a good night's rest. The one person I want to keep an eye on, Kyle Kuzma. He hit knee to knee with Jakob Poeltl out there. I want to monitor, see if he's going to be available tomorrow. I think that overall, you have DeLon Wright. He's playing great. He's playing great defense. Bradley Beal, Kyle Kuzma, Porzingis, they all had great games on the offensive end. The only thing that you need to tweak, play through that contact and take care of that ball. No more turnovers.
I appreciate that, Jason. Megan, before we get your answer, right now I got Coach Wes Hall Jr. at the postgame podium. I want to hear that, and we'll come right back to you, Megan.